so let's do some questions and answers, okay?
Yeah, so Doug, I don't know if you mentioned where the question, where they can ask questions. There should be a tab if you look at the GoToWebinar, and it should you should be able to send a question to the organizers.
I'm not sure if you guys can see mine. This is the little GoToMeeting panel. Yours may be a little bit different, but you should have a section labeled questions. Okay.
And if for those of you who are going to jump off now, we'll stay on for about 15 more minutes to answer any questions. The webinar will be, it has been recorded and it's going to be posted to the help system. We're going to have a new folder in there for these webinars, including Doug's instructions document. So if you ever want to look back, or if you miss one of the future webinars, you can always come back and watch it through that way as well.
Okay, so
questions.
Yeah, so let's take a minute to go through those, and I'm trying to really figure out here how to get to the details of the questions, but I'm seeing a question here: can the work in progress be set up to automatically refresh? Not currently. We do not have an automatic refresh, so you guys will have to do a manual refresh, unfortunately. Okay, next question. Same question. So that's a good topic. Unfortunately, it does not have an automatic refresh. Okay.
There are various actions though that do enforce the refresh. Like it's not just the refresh button that will refresh that screen.
Okay. If I'm reading these right, the next question I see is, why is the inspection not set to default to OK? Let's think about it for a minute, guys. If we automatically set everything to OK and you didn't inspect it, I think we'd be headed for trouble. As a matter of fact, the legacy software used to do that, but we would get complaints from people saying, geez, they didn't inspect that item. So we do want that to be a manual entry. So we don't want to automatically assume that everything is okay. We'll wait till the inspection's done. So hopefully that answers that question.
The other thing is, if you are trying to fill it out quickly and you know all the results, Doug had showed a method for doing the check all. So all you have to click is the top of the OK button and then a second click, and that will it will set all of them to the same result. So it's only 2 clicks. It's not significant time.
Okay, Jeff, I'm having a little trouble filtering here. I can see
do you see beside the X button, Doug? There's one button to pop it out, and you can see the whole thing. It's just to the left of the X.
Unfortunately, I'm not seeing. I know we did this before, but I'm not seeing it.
Okay, I'll just read the questions then.
Thank you.
Can the same catalog feature be set up in inventory?
When you say catalog feature, each inventory item has the ability to have what's called a definition. The definition is our new cataloging with .NET that will search across all supplier connections. So that's as close as I can.
But there is the ability to set up the inventory catalog for your own inventory.
Okay, I probably need a little more information on that.
Anyway, we can get into that in the next webinar.
Okay.
And it would be an option to search your inventory, and it will use the parts lookup to look for inventory parts that fit that vehicle in your inventory. It would just be set
Whenever you're in the cataloging, it always searches your inventory for a matching part number, and it will tell you if you have it. Doesn't matter what it is. So it always searches inventory. Now, if you want a separate inventory catalog, then yes, we can set up a lot of them, such as Mighty Auto Parts. We just make it an internal catalog where it pulls up all the Mighty part numbers by manufacturer. You know, it pulls it up by Mighty, and then it does it by application. And then it will search your inventory at the same time.
Okay.
Okay, so where are we at on the questions here?
So is this for a newer version? Several of the things shown today are not in our system.
Are you running the .NET system? Everything you saw today is in your system.
So that was, yeah, anybody on .NET would be completely up to date. If there's a legacy user on here, then this would be a completely different interface. That was from Luke. I've just noted down your name, so I'll take a look in our system which version you're using. Okay, the next one was, can APC be added as a supplier? I believe they can. Doug, are you familiar with that supplier connection?
It doesn't sound familiar to me. No, Jim might be able to answer that if he's on the call, but APC does not sound familiar to me.
We'll have to take a look at that. Question from Tony, can you pull from inventory halfway through catalog lookup? Like, I think the question here, Doug, is whether you can just pull a clamp or something like that.
And here's the answer to that, and that's probably a bigger discussion. But guys, when you do your catalog lookups, I'm not sure if you know, it automatically searches against your inventory also. So anything I'm looking for in the catalog is going to search against my inventory, and from the catalog search, it's going to try to match up using a part number. So you're going to have the exact same part number that the supplier uses on the catalog search. And if it is an exact match and you have an item with quantity in inventory, it will offer to you the ability to pull that item from inventory. Prime example of that is oil filters. If you buy your oil filters from Napa and you're on a work order, you're looking for an oil filter, search through your Napa catalog, and wherever you have an item with a matching part number in inventory, it will be identified. When you draw the item or apply the item back to the work order, it will ask you if you would like to pick the item from inventory or order the item from the supplier. So watch for that when you use your catalog search. There'll be an inventory icon under the availability column, and you can pick it to draw those items from inventory. Hopefully that answers your question.
Another one, is there a plan to install an auto refresh feature on the WIP? As we said, there's a bunch of, anytime you do an action in the WIP screen, it will refresh. So typically, you're doing something in there quite regularly. That's something that we'll look into, whether we could automate it. Can you save inspection sheet to RO to look at it at another date? Can you save inspection sheet? I'm not sure what that question is. I mean, the electronic inspection will stay with the invoice.
All the inspections on the work order are going to stay with the work order. So if you've got an inspection on here, it stays there. Even after you post the invoice, it'll be there for you to view any entries that you guys have made. So once it's applied, as long as you don't delete it off, it's going to be with that work order forever going forward.
Okay, next question. Is this webinar in the training module? Yes, it will be uploaded to the help website. So you'll be able to see it there. There will be a section called webinars. How frequent?
I'm seeing a question. Go ahead, Jeff.
How frequent will the webinars be done? We're still developing it, but we're thinking that once every 2 weeks, and we're thinking at this time and this day. So it could change, but that's what we're looking at right now. When you pull the parts on the work order, which matrix does it use?
It depends. When you pull apart from inventory, okay, when you pull apart from inventory, you have already got the inventory items set up. And what we mean by that is, if we look at assuming you guys can still see my screen, when I put a part into inventory, I'm going to identify how much I paid for it. I'm going to identify how much I say I want to sell it for. So your inventory items do not use a matrix. They're all individually priced, or There is a tool in the inventory called a batch update that allows you to price batches of inventory. So there is no matrix applied. The only matrix in the system is going to be the margin matrix, which only applies to parts that don't go through inventory. So if I'm back on this work order, an example, I didn't pull this radiator cap from inventory. It came from a supplier. So it's using my matrix. So the matrix is only used on non-inventory items. Inventory items, you'll set your pricing on the inventory item standalone. Hopefully that answers that question.
Okay. Can Protractor run on any tablets that the techs might use for inspections? It will run on tablets that are running a full version of Windows. Typically, you want one with the proper processing speeds that could handle the program. Some would be like a Microsoft Surface Pro. Somebody said, question on Catalog Wizard. The next button disappears as soon as I search. That was Robert. I'm not sure what that would be related to.
I can tell you what that is. Robert, most likely what you're doing is you're selecting an item. You're going to catalog search. So what you're telling the software is all I want to look up is that one item. Okay? You can, I think you can see that here. I don't have a next. So what you'll want to do for those users, and this is something I should have probably pointed out. Once you get all your jobs on, really just go up somewhere to the top and don't focus on a line. Focus on a service package or a header so it boxes off the whole item. And then you're going to walk the staircase. Okay. If you select an individual item, then you're telling the software, all I want to look up is that item, which is the same thing as using it from the right click. So focus on a package, go to catalog lookup, and you'll walk down the staircase, okay?
Okay, so Carrie asked, does it automatically use the matrix that user has set, or does it use the list price from the supplier catalog?
Okay. The way the software will work is if you have a matrix and you have a rule for that matrix, it will use the matrix. If you don't have a rule, and Alan chime in, I believe it does use the manufacturer's list price.
Correct.
Okay. So if you have a rule and you have, if you have a matrix and you have a rule applied to tell it where to apply that rule, then it's going to use this. An example, if I go back here and just go back to this just the radiator cap, okay, and I do a check on that, here it's identifying cost, list, and MSRP. Okay, so let's 23, 17, and 15, if that's the radiator cap I apply, okay, then you're going to see there's my cost. It applies the matrix. So when there's a matrix, it uses the matrix. If there is no matrix, it uses the manufacturer's list.
Okay, Darren asked, once the inspection page is completed and invoice closed, can we do a search for the history of this inspection down the road?
No, you search through customers, vehicles, and invoices. So all of your searches, okay, find or whatever, it would be done by search for, in this case, would be a customer or a vehicle, or you can search by work order or invoice number. You don't search by inspections because the inspection is a component of the work order. So
a real easy way to do that, though, would be to go to that vehicle file. If you can open up a vehicle file real quick.
Sure. You mean a customer file here?
On a vehicle. Okay. Just grab one of the vehicles.
Okay.
Go to history, and then you'll know if you did the inspection or not. You'll have to open them up, but you can see if you did an inspection.
It'll be identified with that icon. I may not have anything back here on this one. I'm pretty bad about.
That's going to be your fastest way, right there.
I think you could probably also do it through the find function in the work in progress.
And you can go do the search.
If you search by
the document.
use the customer search and then in the by name.
I'm gonna probably end up with the
do by
same
name.
thing.
By name.
There you go.
And then you can do the service category as well and service package.
Okay, so over here you can add advanced search to these.
Yeah, so
guys, the answer to the question is you don't search by inspection. You search by customer, vehicle, work order number, or invoice number. And if you did an inspection, it was in there, then it would be with that. So you don't search by or on inspections.
Okay, Dennis asked, which labor guide is used to populate labor times? That would be the Mitchell labor guide. Ralph asked, going through estimating some inventory items are added to service package. Will we at some time be able to go to inventory and get that part? Yes, I would hope that we will. Randy asked, you showed the stair step feature in catalog. Can inventory do stair step as well? Only in that inventory is linked to the catalog will it tell you whether it's in inventory or not. Okay, Tyler asks, is there a good way to apply the same changes to multiple stores, i.e. we have 4 stores with separate instances of Protractor. I want to make changes to service packages and pricing matrices, set up workflow flags. Can I make changes to export? Yeah, Tyler, I think it would be best if we get with you as it's pretty specific to multi-store location, but there are a bunch of things that we can do. And it might be differently depending on if it's a service package or a flag, but we can export and import things quite easily between databases. Okay, Rex said it is wrench head, which I'm guessing he was answering the question of somebody asking about APC. So if they're a wrench head connection, it's WHI, which we can definitely set up. Okay, we have a question. Can you delete items on inspection forms to customize to your shop? Yes, you can. I think Doug showed that in the setup. You can easily get rid of inspection items and add new ones. What authorizations do I add so a technician can make notes on the work orders? Doug?
He's asking about security. I'm assuming you're asking about security. Allow your technician to be able to access and add service packages, make edits to a work order, that should already be set up. The software comes with security roles, okay, which we have set up, and this is our interpretation. So if you're having a technician that's not able to do something you want him to do, then your best bet would be to go to that technician role, go to permissions, take a look at what's already in there, and then add anything that you think they would need. So I'm hoping that helps.
Okay, Sid said, can we have the item in inventory a default choice? Saves a keystroke, i.e. oil filters. I think he's saying I just want to automatically pull the inventory if I have it in inventory instead of when I'm doing the catalog lookup.
Well, the answer to that is, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, we could. It's a good point we could look at. But
well, here's the way I would answer that is yes and no. But you know, when you take that service package for your oil change with that oil filter in it, that oil filter doesn't fit all cars. So it's when you put the oil change package on the work order, it depends on what vehicle it is going to determine what oil filter.
Right, but I think he's talking about when you're within the catalog lookup wizard and it tells you you can get it from the supplier, but you also have it in inventory. And then you
Okay.
click to apply it, and you have to select that you want to take the inventory item instead of the ordering it. So, I mean, it could be done. It's one click. So, do you offer accounting help webinars? We are struggling with the accounting aspect. Yeah, that's certainly part of the plan. As we progress, we can go deeper into some of the other aspects like accounting. We want to really hit kind of all aspects of the system with these webinars. So. Brian says, to add to my question, quick picks are automatically added as a service, but the service has yet to be authorized by the client. Therefore, if the service is deferred automatically and eliminates all risk of accidentally invoicing a service when it was really meant to be a deferred service, that seems to be a process thing of how you're using the system. So we'd have to look at that specifically.
The other thing too is you need to put it on the main page so you can price it out and then defer it if they don't want it.
Right. I think it's a step that really needs to happen, but I'm not sure how your process is working. Darren said, is there enough content to do a webinar every 2 weeks? We're busy, so just want to know how often we'll be covering the same material. Well, I mean, we're going to continue covering new material for the webinars for some time. We don't know how long that will go, but they are all going to be recorded as well. So if you want to come back and look at them, you'll be able to see them. Darren has a question about Protractor and when the two programs will, and AutoServe 1, and whether the communication will continue to be improved between the two. And yes, we are working together to deepen integration. So, Shant says, where will the webinars be located? They're going to be located in the help system. So all you have to do is, Doug can show you here, hit the question mark, and there will be another folder called webinars.
Probably going to be down the left-hand side over here is where it's going to be.
Yeah,
Okay,
towards
so
the top, I would imagine. Or,
okay,
yeah, we'll see.
Wherever they, but it'll be down this column, and the recordings and documentation will all be in there.
Okay, Carrie says that they found today's session extremely helpful. Thank you very much for the feedback, Carrie. And speaking of feedback, you guys will get an email tomorrow related to the webinar. Just thank you for joining. Any feedback that you have, we would really appreciate. Our plan with the webinars is to continue to develop them partially based on how the system was designed to be used, so that will be our input, but also what you guys are struggling with and need more help with and have more questions. So I mean, I think just these questions that we've gone through so far have been illuminating for me anyway, and given some ideas of where we could spend some more time. For instance, we were talking, there were quite a few questions about inventory matrix or supplied item matrix. So I think that will definitely be something that we can add in, and you know, it becomes pretty clear where people have questions about how the system functions. So. Okay, Mark says, I would like to start a work order from the contact screen. Is this possible? Mark, it is. We've talked about that before, so it's a possibility. It's not being done yet, but it could be. Carl says, can we print out the history? I believe that would be through reports.
Right.
Okay, Parker says, just a note, I would like the system to be able to have Protractor choose matrix or MSRP, whichever is higher price. There are some parts that even if you matrix it, the price will be less than the MSRP. We've had that request before. It's within our feature requests database. We continue to look at that and see whether we can do something like that. Keith says, Alan, how badly the Packers will beat the Cowboys on Sunday.
Where you from, Keith?
Not much.
Carrie said this is something that we did not discuss today, but if you have a labor bump set up in your system, so that would be the labor matrix, will it bump the catalog labor time when it pulls it on the work order? And the answer is yes, it will.
Look for the asterisk. That will always tell you.
Yeah, just as a footnote on that, if you guys want to see that, whenever, well, I didn't put any time on that, but when I go to the labor here, whenever you're in the labor guide, and again, I know I'm doing it single here because I'm just pointing this out, you see the little asterisk out to the side of all the times. If you hover over that, the labor guide says bill 5 hours. I've got a 20% factor, so I'm going to bill 6 hours. So this factor is automatically applying based upon what you've set up back here, which will all be year, make, model specific. In this case, you see all I have is a year field. Doesn't matter, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, truck, passenger car, SUV, that's how it applies. Just another note on that, you can go in here and say, examples would be, if I work on a BMW, then any BMW I want at 30%. Or maybe it's just a BMW 325. So it's all year, make, model. The more you put in, the more specific it is. The less you put in, the more generic it is. So this is currently applying in my software, and that's what comes in that's what comes in our database as a default, by the way. Okay.
Trevor has said, can Protractor remember common lookup items like oil filters, so when you add the service package, you do not have to repetitively look up the same part number? Currently, the only thing it can do is set, within service packages, set specific inventory items, so it would have to be very generic stuff, not like an oil filter that's different on different vehicles. But that's something that we will continue to look at for sure. I mean, we're always trying to make every aspect of the program more efficient. So really, it's just development time and putting our resources to certain things. Marvin said, is automatic recurring journal entry coming soon? And the answer would be yes, that we hope so. Trevor says, okay, no, that was just related to his last question. In deferred work, would there be a way to allow for a certain time frame so you can order the parts without having to go back and look up the inventory item again to order? I'm not too sure what exactly that's asking. I think partially it might have to do with process. I mean, if you're scheduling work, you need to have created a work order, and then you should be managing the parts ordering at that point prior to the customer coming in. Peter says, can we change part terminology for catalog lookups? Doug, I'm not sure if that makes sense.
The answer is no, you can't. And the reasoning behind that is the part terminology database is applicable to everybody that runs our software. So if we start allowing users to start making changes to better fit your needs, that could obviously affect several other people. So you cannot change the part terminology. You can change the part definition, but you can't change the terminology. Sorry, that has to be locked up.
Oh, okay, we got some football banter going on here, so I'm just going to skip that.
And Jeff, I'm going to have to probably pop off the call here. I've got to move on to some other calls, so I'm going to have to leave it with you guys if you want to carry on a little bit. Okay?
Yeah, it looks like we're just about done here. So I'll just take one more here. How do you change the definition? So if you want to change the definition of an inventory item, you can just set that within setup in the inventory items. Okay. All right, so I guess we'll shut it down for now. Anybody who, if we missed any questions or anything was left partially answered or unanswered, please keep your questions. You can send them in, to support anytime, or you can save them till our next webinar. Doug, I think, what do we say, the 26th? So 2 weeks from now is our plan. For
I believe right now we're going to go on like a two-week rotation. That may change going forward, depending on, I mean, if we get 67 people showing up for these, then there's a chance we might bring them forward. So right now we're going to go on a 2-week revolution. That gives everybody a chance to digest some of this and apply some of it and things like that. That may change going forward. If that's what you guys would like to do weekly, then we'll look at that going forward, okay?
Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Doug and Alan and everybody else. And guys, please send in your feedback and let us know what you want to see on these in the future so that we can tailor them to best fit your needs. So anyway,
thanks, everybody.
Have a great day, everybody.